remember that summer jam, skate shoes and that marching band.
First heartbreak, first slow dance. Now I'm just trying to make sense of plans.
Oh, take me back to the roof.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hemp and Healing Grassroots. I'm your host, Stacey McCaskill. Appreciate you guys joining us. Today we have a great guest, Rick, and a longtime customer and good friend of Hemp Stock Farms, and we're going to get to know Rick a little bit. And then we really want to, I'm really encouraging people to go to our link at StreamYard, the 5433 and all those digits. You'll see it on the screen here. Just click on that, go to that. If you're watching this, if you're catching this live stream on YouTube or on LinkedIn, there's a link there that, that StreamYard link is there that you can grab. And if you click on that link, you'll come into studio with us. You'll be back screen, off screen in the studio. We'll be able to chat with you and talk with you. But then we can bring you on camera as well. So I'm really hoping we get a lot of participation in tonight's show, some call-ins. Tonight's big pressing question. We're just going to talk about all things cannabis, what's happening with the rescheduling, what's going on with CBD. And Rick's got a ton of experience, super knowledgeable, and loves sharing his knowledge on these topics. And I think we kind of disagree about some things, which is going to be super fun. And we're going to kind of talk through that and try to convince each other of what we think the state of cannabis is in the United States today and where that might be going. Maybe be a little bit of futurist tonight to talk about what it could look like in 5 years or 10 years or whatever. So we'll have that conversation tonight as well. And my opening thought or verse tonight is Romans 8:28. All things work together for good to those that love God and are called according to his purpose. And I feel that we are totally called according to God's purpose, working with the plant that I shared last week. Jesus said should be descheduled. So look at last week's episode and I talk about the verse that I think proves that Jesus would be on the side of descheduling. Since he did create it after all.
Well, it was here before him.
Yes, yes. So, yes, right on.
By a million.
By
millions of years.
By millions of years or whatever. So, Rick, introduce yourself to us.
Okay.
How'd you come to know Hemp Stock Farms? And
Okay. Well, about
tell us a
5
little bit
years
about
ago, my wife and I started growing microgreens for her, and then for family, and then for neighbors,
okay,
and then for whomever
right?
found out about it.
Yeah.
And somebody said, you should go to a farmer's market. So I went to a farmer's market and went through that whole grind and whatever.
Yeah.
And it was the indoor farmer's market in Kenosha that I met.
Selling microgreens.
Selling microgreens that I met Hemp Stock Farms. I met the two guys that work in the field sometimes or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I met them there.
The Velasquez brothers.
Yes.
Rolling.
Then I got to know Hemp Stock Farms. So I came out here and whatever. I know Woodstock pretty well. And then I sort of got that gist. So I grow stuff. I came from software, hardware engineering.
Huh.
Okay, defense contracting, AT&T Bell Laboratories.
Huh.
Okay, so like 40 years of that, really high profile stuff, B-2 bomber, T-5 missile program, stuff like that. But I like to grow and farm, so way back when I got interested into hydroponics, and I was growing lettuce and tomatoes in my basement under the old halide lights.
Okay.
And stuff. Okay. And I knew that quite well. So one thing led to another and Stock Farms. And I said, okay, well, and then other people in the family are growing cannabis. It's not marijuana or hemp, it's cannabis.
Mhm.
Okay. And I said, well, heck, I'll get a medical card and I'll grow it. So I did. And like I was really good at growing everything else, I was really good at growing still.
To cannabis, yeah.
Yes, very good. So that's how I got into the whole thing and watching the entire industry type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's really interesting because I've seen black market, I've seen legal, I've seen numerous different avenues of it. And you're trying to control something that you can't control because it's a plant.
Mhm.
And the plant will always be here. Doesn't matter. Looking at history, we're in Illinois. And during World War II, Illinois was the largest producer of hemp
In the United States.
in the United
Yeah.
States.
Huh.
Okay, during World War II. They had to make canvas, they had to make rope, they had to make khakis. It was all made from hemp fiber.
Huh.
And going even further back, when we were fighting the British, Ben Franklin went to France and he was in a suit made of hemp
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that before. Have
Because-
you heard that before, Leon?
because
This
we
guy?
didn't have we did not have cotton. The United States did not have cotton.
Hmm.
Cotton was grown in India, and India was owned by the UK. It was a what do you call it, a state of the UK.
Yeah, right.
And
Coffee.
the US didn't. So they used hemp fiber, okay, to make rope because we had old sailing ships and the sails were made out of canvas. And so that's what they did.
Hmm.
So we've been growing, okay, hemp, you can call it marijuana, but it's cannabis. We've been growing that for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we come into the age of the well, before that, in the 50s, really, with the movie Reefer Madness,
Mm.
some of the other things, and we demonize, government trying to demonize, okay, this.
Right.
And I think thinking back on it and thinking of the new stuff now, I think there was a reason why they were demonizing it in the 50s. Because last month or the month before, cannabis has outsold alcohol in the United States.
Mhm.
Okay. So in the 50s, to the breweries and the alcohol
Mm.
distillers or whatever know that this could take over.
Yeah.
Okay. They probably did.
I don't know if anybody knows this history, call in, but
Yeah,
because
call
I
in.
had seen a documentary that said that we should pull up that graphic of the timeline, Leon, that when the Marijuana Tax Act was passed, that the whole term marijuana was from south of the border, that term, and that there was like clear racism against Latin peoples, and that the term marijuana was supposed to put fear into people's, ooh, it's marijuana. It's this terrible thing.
Demonizing
Yeah,
Mexico.
so that in 1937, if you guys are looking at the screen right now, 1937 is when the Marijuana Tax Act was passed. And the point of that, from what I saw in this documentary, was that it was threatening cotton and paper. It was paper holdings. It was who's the big guy that had all the paper that ran media?
He owns the
I'm
forests.
I'm blanking on. He owns the forest. Yes,
that grow the paper.
the paper,
The
and he
paper.
was the paper. Like he was also had all the newspapers. He was the big new. I can't remember the guy's name, but anyways, he owned all the forests, and that's this documentary I saw. That's when the first Marijuana Tax Act happened. It was specifically an economic thing that this hemp was threatening, not the cannabinoid hemp,
Right.
but the practical use of hemp was threatening that. So they passed that act. Then they lifted it because we really needed it for the war effort.
Right.
But then as soon as the war effort went, they re-demonized it, and then the whole war.
And hemp as a weed, and you can probably find it now if you go down to southern Illinois and areas of Illinois, it grows in the ditches because they grew it commercially.
Yeah.
And it is a weed. It's like dandelions, and we haven't been able to get rid of dandelions. So I don't think we'll be able to get rid of weed either because
Yeah.
it's very prolific, and it's in Illinois to stay. Whether or not they burn
Right.
it down or not, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's gonna be-
I mean, even the
So-
hemp grown for cannabinoids will come back year after year
Oh, sure.
because we did. Have you seen our greenhouse that
Yeah,
we're in the
yeah.
spring? So if you come to one of our greenhouses right now and you tour that greenhouse, there is just little teeny hemp plants, all about this big, little seedlings, all everywhere.
We haven't even planted in those greenhouses.
And no, we've never planted in that greenhouse, but what we did one year, the very first year, is we bucked in that greenhouse and we cleaned hemp. We bucked the hemp in that
Mhm.
greenhouse. So when we bucked that hemp, seed fell on the ground, and that has returned year after year after year. Now we'll see. This year is the first year because that we took that greenhouse. We're planting our turmeric in it this year. So I'm kind of pulling the hemp, as it's coming up. We're kind of pulling it, and I think as it grows, we're not going to let it get more than maybe a foot or two. But that hemp grown for cannabinoids. It's amazing how tall. I mean, it's completely different in that greenhouse because it's like so hot in there, and then those plants are so jammed together. And we've looked on our Facebook page. We got tons of pictures from it in the past. All those plants are jammed in there, super tall. They all grow like 12 feet, 14 feet, and that's hemp for cannabinoids. That's not fiber hemp.
No.
That's a hemp. That's a CBD varietal that keeps growing back in that greenhouse.
What's
year after
wild
year.
is you said it's a weed. You don't
Yeah.
do anything to those greenhouses.
No.
We're not watering them.
No.
We're not
like
finding the best plants and,
Right.
and pruning them.
pruning it or
Mhm.
anything. It just comes back year after year.
And
So.
what's interesting is I toured because I have a patent on a light saving energy device,
Okay.
and there was a investment community in St. Louis that was interested in it, and I said, "Well, I've never been in a real commercial grow house
Mhm.
before," and they said, "Well, we can get you into one. We can get you the largest one in Missouri."
Okay.
Because we own a portion of it. And I said, okay, well, fine. So I toured it. And what was amazing was they're not making money. Okay. You talk to the investment community that owns them, that sold off a portion of it. And we're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars. They know they're a loss. So why do you invest in something that's going to lose? Because they want a tax write-off, and they know that they can pump money and lose it there, and it goes off the book. It's there. So if you look at that, you say by rescheduling, it does two things. Now you say medical marijuana, whatever, without discriminating against, where it's going to be or anything else.
Mhm.
By the rescheduling, and by the way, the rescheduling is an executive order. So this is only going to sit around, unless Congress gets their act together and actually does a law or actually does something. This is going to go away.
Well, the FDA has to do it. So if that happens in June, they will
That's-
have hearings and do the
We'll
whole
see
thing.
what happens. We'll see what they come up with. But
Yeah.
the thing is, and what actually states and whatever and carry forward. But the biggest thing, and this is what everyone was talking about, is by rescheduling it, now you have access to banks and loans, and credit cards. If you go into a dispensary, they won't take a credit card.
Right.
Take a debit card from because it's cash, but they won't take a credit card. Why? Because it's an FDI credit cards bank issues it as a FDIC. That's federal, and it's not state.
Right.
They get their money from savings and loans because those are state operated. They're not
Mhm.
federal operated. So because of that, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal, and that's also for, believe it or not, just the rescheduling of it, on how they say, well, it's for medical, not recreational, everything else, but because the bank will accept it. Okay, I would bet you that every dispensary, no matter what they're selling, is now going to accept credit cards.
And this is where I disagree with you. So let's pull up, can you pull up that other thing about what's actually happening, that graphic on the descheduling?
Yes.
Because I
Deschedule,
think
reschedule.
what you're talking about, maybe eventually one day, if I don't know, we have to have a lawyer on, because I think it would have to be, it's not just descheduling it,
This
marijuana. You'd have to completely deschedule it. I don't know how else you would get there. So this is what's happening. If folks want to look on the screen here,
I can buy.
the big picture is that when that rescheduling, the new Department of Justice order, when this rescheduling goes through and becomes official after June or July, I think right now you can actually talk to your attorney, because I think right now because can you zoom in on that? And is there quotes on this one, or is that on a different screen? The quote from can't remember the quote from the DOJ person. That's not. Oh yeah, there it is. So the Attorney General has made the official reschedule. The DEA has made a portal for the medical people to go and get registered. So this is what's happening: is the FDA approved products. If it's an FDA approved product that has THC in it or CBD or whatever, you have to get that prescribed by a doctor, and then you have to get it you have to have a medical card, and you have to get it from a medical dispensary, a medical marijuana dispensary. So it says right there, state licensed medical products. Now that product can be the exact same product. Like there's many dispensaries in Illinois that you walk in the door, and one side of the dispensary is the medical marijuana dispensary, and the other side is the recreational dispensary. And the medical dispensary, usually like the line's shorter, you get seen faster, there's less taxes that you pay, all of that. So these companies are already managing two business models that have two separate taxations that has different.
Could be in the same building, in the same place.
Could be in the same building, owned by the same people, in the same place. I think they're two separate licenses, though.
It might be two.
Yeah, I think they're two separate state licenses. So only the medical licensed one is going to get the 280E relief. So you have to, in order to get this relief, in order to get access to banking, because we've suffered the same banking issue.
Okay.
Chase won't bank me.
Right. No,
It was really hard for us to get credit card processing. About 3 years ago, I was paying about 40% of retail sales in credit card fees.
Easily.
So if I sold something that cost $100, I was paying $40 to the credit card company if I was accepting credit cards. It was so hard to get credit card processing for Hempstock Farms in the beginning. We have it now, and we're under a special program. But I lost my train of thought on where I was going with
anyway,
that.
you're saying medical. See, they're classifying what they've done is they've rescheduled it for medical purposes only.
Right.
Okay. Which is like saying, okay, well, what is everything, even recreational people do, smoke to relax and whatever. Okay. So I drink alcohol for medical purposes only.
Right,
Okay?
exactly.
Okay. So this is the way in to reschedule it was let's bring it in under medical.
Yeah.
Okay. In Illinois, the way in initially, before it was recreational, was medical. They came in via medical,
Right.
and then they expanded to recreational.
Exactly.
This is going to happen. This is the same. This is the place, the entry point. Okay, so they can't really argue medical, whatever. And then it sort of will spread as the money flows and everything else, and you'll get. They'll have to rewrite some things and do some different things like that. Now, what's different is Illinois. To grow in Illinois legally, you're either a licensed farm, or you have a medical card.
Mhm.
Other states have different ways of doing it. Missouri has a medical card, and then they have a grower's card.
Okay.
If you have a medical card, you get a discount if you go to medical dispensaries or any dispensary in Missouri with a Missouri medical card. If you're Illinois and have a medical card, you don't get their discount. If I'm in Missouri and I go into a dispensary,
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
I don't get a discount
Right.
because it's an out-of-state medical card.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay. Well, how does it go into this? Well, medical. Well, no, you don't get it. Okay. That's their state law. But to grow, you don't have to have a medical card. Yet you have to have a grower's card. Now, a medical card if you want to get a grower's card and a medical card together, it's the same price as getting a medical card. They don't penalize you either way. But if you want to grow, the reason they did the grow card was if they had illegal grow, if somebody would complain, okay, normally they do a search warrant, they come in, they bust down the door, and they go into the place or whatever.
Mhm.
But if it's somebody who's legally grow,
Has
just
a grower's card.
have a grower's card. Well, they didn't have a grower's card. So, and they go, this is only a guy growing 2 plants. We busted down his door.
Yeah.
And then he comes back to court and sues the cops and saying,
Right.
you did all this damage to the place. Why didn't you just ring the bell and say hi?
Yeah.
And so they came up with a grower's card. So
Okay.
before they do, if a complaint comes in or something or whatever, before they issue a search warrant or anything else, they check to see if there's a grower's card for that address. And then if they want to pursue it further, they show up, they ring the bell, they say, hi, we know you're growing. Can we see your grow?
Hmm.
And then you show them the grow. Yeah, this is legal. Fine. And then they leave.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there's
Interesting.
no animosity,
Right.
okay, for the cops. It's not them or us type of thing. It's
Right.
more like, no, you're doing your thing right, whatever. And it was their way to orchestrate that
Interesting.
to get it out of there. So that's what they do. The other thing that they have that Illinois doesn't have, and I think Illinois was earlier, they did medical first and then they did recreational.
Okay.
And I think it was the way history, how it evolved. The other thing that they do, which is the same thing the city of Washington, D.C. has, is gifting.
Oh,
In D.C., you can gift, not on federal land, but you can walk across the street and stand on federal property and now you're illegal.
yeah.
But if you stand on this side of the street, I can give it away and it's legal. Okay. So, and gifting, quote, the black area of gifting is, well, you gift it and then maybe you donate to something. You're not supposed to be doing that. That's not how it works, but a lot of times that's what people do.
Yeah.
And
I've been to markets in Michigan. It was in Michigan.
oh yeah,
That
Michigan's
must be
big
in
with it.
Michigan. They were doing it where they were like,
They gift in Michigan.
yeah,
too.
it's like, but it was, everybody pushes that because
A lot
there's
of
like
places-
a freaking menu that says for this joint recommended donation $15 and for this, ounce or whatever, recommended donation $50. It's like they kind of suggested and they were sales prices. Yeah, so it's clearly
So,
selling.
well, now they do it on other things. It's like the
Yeah.
event that I went to and whatever, the price of the event. Okay, well, that's your entry fee.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's what's happening. And if you watch this, the rescheduling was kind of forced on the administration, and there was a lot of push for it.
Mhm.
I would gather is because the investment community and other people, I don't think big pharma is really after weed that much, because big pharma used to grow plants and then harvest them and get other chemicals off of plants. Well, that's not that profitable. What's profitable for them is to synthetically make it in the lab, okay, and then they can mass produce it, dump, 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 out the door, and we don't have a lot of people working to do that, and it's a lot more cost efficient that way. And if it's our chemical makeup, then it's our patent, and we can patent that. You can't patent the plant, and now you have this patent for this particular product.
Mhm.
and really that's the way pharmaceutical has gone.
Hmm.
And pharmaceutical is the big, some of the big players like Pfizer or Moderna or even Abbott. They're into viruses now, and they're into RNA and CRISPR stuff.
Mm.
One of the plant, it's called the Danforth Plant Center, which is on the north side of St. Louis. The plant center was funded by Danforth. Danforth started Purina. He was the person that started Purina making dehydrated, dog chow or whatever. That's how they got started. But so Danforth started it. He started this plant center, and they do research on plants. And some of them, as they're doing CRISPR and changing plants so that they will grow in very desert, very dry
Right.
products and stuff. That's what's going on. They can CRISPR and they can make stuff,
Right.
and they can come up with new plants and stuff from that gift.
Well, I mean,
But
it's very interesting. I mean, because I don't know if anybody's logged in yet or clicked on the on. Okay.
Jane.
Yeah, just Jane. Hey, Janers, thanks for coming on. I just wanted to throw out one more invite. If anybody is watching this live anywhere, please go to our link and click on, or I think you can maybe see when they post on YouTube
Comment.
or
When they
any
continue
comments. So
live.
go ahead and post any of your comments or your thoughts about this. I think my big question, to not get too in the weeds for people, is where do you get your cannabis? Like, do you get it from a dispensary? Do you get it from, the illicit market? Your neighbor? Do you grow it in your basement? Do you get it from a hemp store? Do you get it from a smoke shop? And how would you prefer that happen? Like, I know there are some genuine people out there who consume cannabis that have genuine concerns that I don't want to discount for over safety and making sure that this is like, there's some people, I'm for complete descheduling, like free the plant, but there are some people that aren't for complete descheduling. They would like to see some kind of regulations layered onto some kind of protections, not make it a free market, like, anarchy kind of thing. And I'm just wondering where people are and what they think about that. What do you think? Are you for a complete descheduling? And where do you currently get your cannabis besides, I know you're a home
I
grower,
grow it.
but do you trade? Do you ever buy, you buy Hempstock Farms stuff occasionally.
Well, that's because
Because you
know
don't make everything, you don't
That's
make
because-
topicals and stuff.
No,
You,
but that's
you
because
grow
I
yours
know
for
it.
smoking.
I
but-
know it, whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's convenient.
Yeah.
And I want to support Hempstock Farms.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, here, I got
Yeah.
$20 here.
Okay.
But I'm for totally scheduled to nothing. Take it,
Deschedule.
deschedule it totally. And I think it should be handled more like alcohol is to some regard.
Okay.
Okay, so you can make your own wine. Well, you can grow. You can make your own beer. There's a lot of people that make their own craft beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I can grow. Same thing. You can grow X amount. You can make, if you make over, I forgot how many gallons it is, wine. Well, nobody's going to make that much
Right,
unless you're selling it.
Right.
And is there a black market for alcohol? Yes, there is.
Sure.
There's moonshine, and it
Right.
is black market,
Right.
and it still exists. Okay, and they were going to shut it down way back when.
Yeah.
Guess what? It's still there,
Right.
even though alcohol is legal and you have big alcohol in it. But guess what? You have people that buy moonshine on the black market.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just
And beer and wine, I'm sure all of it. Everybody has that neighbor.
oh yeah, everybody,
that,
okay. Well,
like,
I can tell you.
oh, I make beer in my basement. Do you want me to make, 24 pack for you? Throw me $20 to help pay for the
They're-
bottles.
They're
That
not,
kind of
they're
thing.
not on this podcast, but a very very wealthy suburb. Okay. I know this for a fact. I have family there. Okay,
Mhm.
I have a daughter-in-law there. And I said, well, she uses gummies. I said, well, where does she get them from? Oh, there's a housewife, on the block and whatever, and she makes gummies for everybody.
Yeah.
And you go, okay.
It's still a genuine thing. It's especially like edibles is a really common thing. Like I think we went to the county fair at one point and they were like carnies and they're selling like you can buy whatever from them and they're selling regulated cannabis products and then they're still end of the night they're all sharing their like homemade like stuff
yeah.
around like
Right.
Yeah, it's so I don't think that's going to go away.
Yeah. So legalization
There's a social aspect.
legalization does not mean that a illicit or a black market, what they call the legacy market, that will never go away. That will always be with us as long as you're putting some kind of regulation onto distribution, which is basically everything. I mean, you can't bake bread at home and sell it to your neighbor. That's illegal.
Right, unless you're a farm.
I mean, unless you apply for in Illinois, you have to apply for a cottage food license, or you have to become a commercial retail kitchen, or you have to become a commercial kitchen. That's
Or,
the only way that you can
or if you're a
bake
farm,
cookies
or if you're,
and sell.
unless you're a farm.
Yeah,
It's hysterical. It's hysterical. Okay. We're an ag. The laws, okay, are for the farmer. Okay. Have been. Okay. I don't know if they've changed a lot, but
Yeah.
have been.
Yeah.
So when I went, when we decided we were going to go into farmers markets, whatever, we looked at the health of whatever. Oh, we grow microgreens.
Mhm.
Health inspector coming through. No, you're a farm. That's produce. That's it.
Yeah, that's produce, right?
Right.
Right.
If I was selling weed, guess what? That's produce. It falls under the same thing. It might be illegal, but
Right.
there's no health inspect. It's
Right.
like,
No, it's not the
it's
health
produce.
inspector. Right,
Because
right.
you're a
changed my
farm.
mind. I'm showing it anyways.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
Okay,
cool.
so
That's cool. That's
so when you look at that, and we're a USDA registered farm. We got farm number. Everything else.
Mhm.
So, but what's really crazy with that is where it is. Now, when I wanted to grow, before I had a grower's card, I was looking at, well, I want to keep it legal. I want to grow some. I just want to grow because I like to grow some.
Mhm.
So what did I do is I called up the Illinois Department of Agriculture. Now, we're a farm. Unlike your farm, okay, we're considered an urban vertical farm because we're all hydroponic, but urban vertical
Right.
farm. And it's on our property, and the property though is not zoned ag because you have to have 5 acres in Illinois.
Mhm.
But we have a business license from the municipality, and they know what we're doing. And we have a USDA. We're a farm, we're a
Mhm.
registered farm. So I called up, I looked at it, I said, well, let's see. Need 5. I can grow on 5 acres, or if I have 500 square feet of indoor space,
Yeah.
I can grow weed.
Right.
Okay. So I called up the Illinois Department of Agriculture. Well, I've got 500 square feet to grow inside. They looked up the address and whatever. And they said, well, this isn't zoned ag. I go, well, I have a USDA farm. And I have a business license from my municipality. Okay. This is where things get crazy with the state and the Fed and everything else. Illinois says agriculture is 5 acres minimum. Okay. But the USDA doesn't say how many acres you have or anything else. It's how much production you have,
Right.
okay, for 2 years to start.
Mhm.
So I said, well, I have a farm number and I have a business license. And he says, oh. And they said, I suppose you can. I suppose we can let you do it. Because they're funded by the USDA and they're funded by the taxes coming from the municipality.
I don't know that's not the first time I've heard that story. I know many urban hemp farmers that are see the label similar to me,
Right.
and that they had no problem for 3 or 4 years, and then all of a sudden last year they were denied. So there is a lot of variability in that, and I've had some farmers that like they had to really fight with the IDOA to get that to get their license renewed, their hemp license renewed, and so yeah, it does seem like it's very I don't know the
Political.
yeah, it's very political, or it's just like it depends who's in charge of the who that current marijuana czar is, because that falls the IDOA is in charge of the marijuana program
Right.
too. So it's really interesting, and in fact, I think it's been about 2 years now that the IDOA will not talk to you in person anymore. They will only transact business with you that's documented via email. And I clarified that this year because I said, why don't you guys answer the phone anymore? Like, I just want to call and ask a question. And they're like, Stacy, we would always call you back. You just have to email. And you're like, we'll call you back. We'll talk to you. And then like that was that last year before last, that's the answer I got. And then this last year, the answer I got was, no, we won't call you back, because now they said that they got complaints that different people were giving them different interpretations. So like one guy's calling, like you is calling and saying, where's my license? And they're like, you don't qualify. And then somebody else would call in and be like, well, it was fine last time. Well, okay, I guess we can give it to you. So I think it was that kind of, people were complaining and
Well, the thing is,
trying to figure out the rules and
when you
stuff.
have different agencies and other agencies say yes, then that agency is stuck between a hard place.
Yeah.
Because our laws, quite frankly, our laws are not unique across all boundaries or anything.
Yeah, it's
else.
pretty patchwork.
It's patchwork.
Yeah.
And they don't look at they pass a law, but it doesn't coincide.
Right.
Look at the old farm bill. Oh, we didn't think about THCA, we didn't think about that or whatever, and now they come when they redid the farm bill was, well, we got to get rid of marijuana. They're taking advantage of this bill, as opposed to, no, you don't know how to write the bill.
Right.
The people that are writing the bill
Yeah.
have never been a farmer.
Yeah.
They've never been in the hemp industry. They've never been in marijuana industry. They don't know. They just go.
I feel I personally feel is super planned and manipulated, that it wasn't an accident. Like, oopsie, we completely eliminated the entire hemp industry because we don't understand cannabinoids. That's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
There was a concerted effort to kill this industry. Now we can
They were
debate
trying to-
who that is, but it's somebody that got more money than I got. I know that much.
They were trying to kill the industry. And I don't think pharma's really into it that much because
I think it's pharma. You don't think it's pharma?
No, I don't.
Well, who is it? Do you think I don't think it's big marijuana, because every action that's been taken to limit hemp has resulted in a crash of the cannabis stock.
well, what kills me is this, is that look at
So
California.
I think cannabis is just as dependent. We have that one
gonna
thing,
say,
and kind of
don't
like
you-
that overlaps. You kind of have you have the marijuana, like you said, it's all one plant, but there are legal definitions that throws certain cannabis into marijuana and other cannabis into hemp. And then there's a kind of a Venn diagram where it both crosses
It comes
over.
down to the bottom line. It comes down to control.
Money control.
Money and control. Because you're not going to control the plant. So how do we control the plant? Let's make a couple different names for the plant, the same plant, okay? And we'll call one hemp and we'll call the other one marijuana. Marijuana's bad because it comes from, maybe it was coming south of the border. It's one of those things coming in.
Comment on this. Look at this screen here. So this is that. This is the the cannabis industry. I would call this the marijuana industry, not necessarily.
Yeah.
This isn't the focus on the hemp side of things. This is a focus on the
Yeah.
THC side of things. the
This shows that
marijuana.
like it's like $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
Like there's a
It's-
lot of money
it's
going
more than-
into this
Right.
More
now.
than $1 billion. It's more than that.
But look
Multi.
at these, it's like all these different means of production from the input companies to the the growers to the distillers to the wholesale, the delivery, all of this. There's
Well-
only a handful of
well,
companies that
going-
control everything. It's similar to our food.
Right. Well,
I have the same graphic of where our food comes from, and it looks very similar to this.
well, yeah, it's because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Same type of thing. When you look at that and you say, okay, well, we were talking about this before the podcast, was nutrients.
Mm.
Okay, when you're growing and you're growing indoors and you're growing in tents or the home growers or whatever, and you grow hydroponically, you grow with nutrients, mixed with water. So what do? Well, where do you get the nutrients from? Well, you go to the store, or you go to a hydroponic store, or you go to whatever, or you go on the Amazon and you get some nutrients. And which ones do you get? Well, my buddy said I grow with something.
Yeah.
That's the one you should get, and you go, okay, well, that's the one. And somebody else will say, no, I grow with this, and it's the best thing there is, right? So you look at the labels and the brands of all the nutrients out there. And they all come from Monsanto Miracle-Gro. They all come from, they own all the labels, they own all the brands, one way or another, or it's their or it's their process that goes into
Right,
making X, Y, Z.
Right.
So they own all of it. So when you're saying big whatever,
Yeah.
okay, it's more like, oh, we'll brand it this, we'll brand it that, whatever. Same thing with your THC drinks. In some states, the restaurants are serving,
Mhm.
okay? And where is it coming from? Well, this company here and that company there, but who owns them? The distillers,
Yeah.
the breweries,
Right. Right.
okay?
Right.
You know, who grows hops? Anheuser-Busch grows hops.
Yeah.
They have farms out west that grow all their own hops. What comes out of hops? Cannabinoids.
Yeah.
Hops has cannabinoids
Right.
similar to hemp.
Beans.
Yeah, they have terpenes.
Yeah.
And guess where it comes from? So do you think these guys know what they're doing? They've been around a little
Right.
bit. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing about this is scheduling, whatever, it's $1 billion industry and all this other stuff. Okay. And looking at, it's been adopted now by the populace, because if you see it outselling alcohol, okay, it's been adopted.
Mhm.
Now they have the problem. The Fed has the problem of all these states, and it's a patchwork.
Right.
One law is here, one law is there. This
Yeah.
is recreational, that's medical. Oh, we don't do this, we don't do this. And the ones that haven't legalized it yet are going, we're losing tons and tons of tax dollars because
Mhm.
everybody from our state goes to the state across the river.
Right.
Okay, and they buy their stuff, and they come back
Yeah.
here, and their tax, those dollars go into that state.
Right.
So, and that's what's happening here now. Indiana and Wisconsin are complaining about how many tax their citizens go to Illinois
Oh yeah.
to buy, and ours was, what was it, 38 million or 38 million from Wisconsin. Okay, people crossing, Wisconsin residents spent more than 38 million, but it was tax dollars for 38 million into the state of Illinois.
Mm.
And a friend of mine, it says it's a gateway drug and whatever. And I'm going, well, there's a lot of Wisconsin guys supporting our taxes right here in Illinois.
Right.
Talk to them. They're your neighbors.
Right.
It's like, hello.
Right.
So I think everybody goes, well, it's rescheduled and they're going to manipulate this and they're going to manipulate this. I think we're at a point where public demand is now stepping out. Yeah, it was black market and whatever and isolated, and then it got more and more and more. they've tried to demonize with reefer, all this other
Right.
stuff about it, but it doesn't go away. So, and now we've gotten, and I think the other thing is, I grew up in the '60s hippie movement and Nam, that type of thing. And that's where all the druggies were. And now they're my retirement, whatever, and they're growing and they have a lot of input.
So what about the future? Do you think that it will ever be descheduled and will be treated similar to alcohol, and
I
that
think-
that the end product is what is regulated, not the growing or the processing?
I
of
think
it?
it's going to happen. I think it went medical, just like when they made it legal in Illinois, it went medical first.
Right.
Because medical is the least resistant.
Right.
You know, they
right,
can
right.
say medical. And then as it comes on, more and more people want it. So then they go, well, we had all this other demand over here.
So
What are
you
we
think
gonna
the demand and the fact that, the government, because if it gets descheduled, well, I mean, they still get a lot of tax money from tobacco and from, anything. They can put a consumption tax on pretty much anything. It doesn't matter whether you deschedule it or not.
Correct.
You can still put a
consumption-
huge
you can put
consumption
you
tax
can
on
put a
it,
consumption
right?
tax on it. Yeah.
So you think we'll get to a point where the money will be via a consumption tax, but it'll be completely descheduled? I would love that, because then
Oh.
you kind of
Oh.
unleash entrepreneurs to do what
Well,
they do.
Yeah, I'll give you the example that I found out was in LA. 80% of the dispensaries in LA are not registered.
Hmm.
They're not licensed. And you go, 80%? That's because they don't make money.
Hmm.
There's
If
too
they're
many-
licensed, they don't make money.
Yeah, if they're licensed. There's too many fees, there's too many license fees, there's too many that they tax it 3 or 4 times that of alcohol.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. So they don't license. However, they legalized recreational stuff in California. So what goes on now is when they raid a dispensary that's not licensed, the owner gets a $500 fine and a misdemeanor and busted glass and whatever and all the things.
Yeah, right.
They're back in business, 2 days later,
Yeah.
and then they don't get searched, they don't get hit again for another year,
Yeah.
because there's so many of them. And the thing is, so you say, well, there's a penalty, but the penalty doesn't match, well, fine, we'll take the penalty. Who
Yeah,
cares?
who cares?
Who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen, is that it becomes less and less enforceable.
Mhm.
Okay, when you have people growing, and we're not talking, local growers, you don't grow a lot.
Yeah.
Like in Illinois, I can have 15 plants. Okay, I can have 5 flowering, 5 not mature, and then 5 clones under a certain height.
Okay.
Okay. Missouri, you can have 6, 6, and 6.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a ton of weed.
Right. And
That's
then
a ton of weed.
if you have 2 people in the house,
Like one plant would last yeah,
if
exactly.
you have 2 people in the house on top of that, okay, so that means they can grow the same amount. So if you're
Really? You're
Yeah.
not in,
Yeah,
okay, it's by
because
the
2 medical,
individual?
yes, by the medical card. So, but you only can have 2 people per house. You can't have
Okay,
everybody
yeah,
in
yeah,
the plant. So that means I could grow 10 plants, 10 not flowering,
Right.
and then 10 clones.
Yeah.
Okay. When you do this, you're harvesting once a month. Okay. And I don't know. So I get almost a pound per plant. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing controlled situations, you can get a lot out of the plant.
Right, right.
But how much is it? Tons. It's more than you can use.
Yeah.
I can smoke 3 times a day and I wouldn't go through how much I grow.
Right.
Okay. So I would. I don't say how much I grow, but but what it is that at some point it's going to be a no-brainer. The law doesn't make any sense. There are laws on the books that they don't enforce.
Yeah.
In different states. There's
Right, sure.
and
Yeah.
and it sits on the books, and the law department goes, you're filling up the court systems with what? $100 misdemeanors.
Well, I mean,
it takes,
a good example to kind of wrap us up here
Sure.
is a law that's on the books right now is CBD is a contaminant. It's an adulterant. You cannot put CBD in food. It's federally illegal. Now, who reinforces that? Your local county health department. The county health department has to enforce that. So does the county health department have the bandwidth to send
They got
an
one guy.
army of people out to go up and
No,
down the street
they-
to every smoke shop that's carrying
They don't have-
gummies?
they don't have the manpower or the budget to do any of that.
Yeah, and then you talk about patchwork quilt of like you got federal, you've got local, you've got state, you've got county. Well, Food and Drug Administration through the health departments, all food consumption is regulated at the retail level through the health department. So that's by county. So you're going to get different like enforcement.
Right.
There's some places that won't let you open a coffee shop and infuse it with CBD because the health department will say you're contaminating food. You can't do it here. And then there are other counties like Cook County had no problem with it. We're like,
Here's your
come on
drink.
in, have a thing. Here's your
Here's your
drink,
drink.
CBD.
And here's your CBD in the packet.
Well, that's some places.
You know,
that's what they made it do it.
and then
But
you-
there are still some health departments that are like, we don't care. We don't we're not going to enforce that federal law. So that's kind of like, I think that's where we are with a lot of this stuff. Is like there's laws about criminality. There's laws about production. There's laws about over the way that this product is processed. I mean, all of these things are terribly confusing. And even if you put, longtime experts who've like been in this industry for a long time, or even people who are like processors, retailers, whatever, we're still going to debate about, well, I think the law allows me to do this.
Sure.
And I think the law allows me to do that. And that's why there's so many cannabis attorneys out there. Is like everybody's got to hire an attorney to know whether
Well,
they're going to go to jail or not.
What will happen is a judge will get upset, if he sees case after case after case and there's no merit to the case.
Yeah.
Okay. At some point, the judge says, we got to get rid of this. It's bullshit. Okay. Because there's no merit to these things. I don't care what they say out there. There's no merit to them. And if you look at like California, the officers are laughing because we can't do this. He says we can do 6 to 12 searches a week.
Yeah.
We drive thousands of miles back and forth. Well, you can imagine they're using gas, they're doing this.
Yeah.
It all costs to do that.
Right.
And the health inspector, true story. Okay, when we started growing microgreens, and we were at a farmer's market, and I won't name the town, but they have their own health inspector.
Right. Every county.
Well, it wasn't the county; they had one for
Oh,
the
one
city.
from the city. Oh, okay. Huh.
And he came around, and I remember the people next to us are selling pierogies or something, but can't have the coolers sitting on the ground. They got to be raised. They got to
Wow.
whatever. Comes past us. We're a farm. I'm selling produce. Yeah, we sell produce and stuff. Oh, you're fine. Yeah, you're a farm. Okay. No, it's like you step over the boundary,
Yeah.
and you're stepping over the boundary into the agricultural farm.
Yeah.
And farmers, because of our pastime stuff, they carry a lot of clout.
Yeah.
In the community,
Sure.
in the state, or whatever. And when you say you're a farm, you're eligible for grants, you're eligible for this or whatever, but it carries a lot of clout and a lot of whatever.
Mhm.
And they're also based on scientific, they're looked at that as far as scientific and whatever.
Mhm.
So, but it was interesting from a health inspector standpoint. He's coming past and just totally ignored us.
Yeah.
Okay, as opposed to, we got the stuff harvested, it's in packet, it's like
Right.
just totally ignored us and picks on somebody that has frozen coolers,
Well, yeah. No, none of it seems fair. None of it's fair. I mean,
they had to do something.
you absolutely. I mean, one of the things I've learned by getting health department approval for different events that we're doing and getting health department approval by different counties and get the boba shop, the production kit, all of this stuff. What I've learned is there's it's not fair. Okay. I mean, you could be doing everything right
Right.
and the
You're right.
health department will show up and be like, somebody reported you for the most stupid thing, and you could pass that with flying colors, and you literally could be next to a shop that's doing everything wrong,
Oh, yeah.
and is like I wouldn't send my worst enemy to go eat in that place, and they're not bothered by the health department at all. So there's no fairness about it.
No,
So
there
like
isn't.
thing I've learned, and I think this applies to the hemp versus cannabis and all of that kind of stuff is, and I tell this to my brothers in the marijuana industry, is stop looking at the other guy and saying, well, they can do it, or they're allowed to do
Right.
that, or I see this sold there. Just because marijuana is sold on Amazon doesn't mean Amazon allows marijuana to be sold on Amazon. You know, it's just like, there are rules. Just because a rule isn't being enforced somewhere doesn't mean that rule doesn't apply to you. It may be super unfair, but there's like a ton of rules that apply to us that aren't enforced in different ways in different places. So I've tried to get, I mean, it's really frustrating, and you feel you can get a real victim kind of mindset to yourself if you don't try to rise above that and be like, just do your shit right. Just do your
Just
stuff
do it
right.
right.
Follow
Do
the
the law.
law. Try to be as, I mean, us always quality, safety, number one in mind. And then, like, I want my stuff to taste good. I want my stuff to work. I want people to be pleased with it. And when you strive for those things, you do stuff right, regardless of what the guy next door is doing or what
Exactly.
the rules are that are applied to you. And that's why I fight for freedom, is because I feel like people who do the right thing, those businesses flourish, and people who are scammers and trying to rip people off and shortcut things, I feel like eventually they'll be exposed and they'll die away.
Well, something we said before the podcast is I got some vacuum bags. Okay. And they're for a shop vac, so it's a canister of vacuum, and I bought them, it's this name brand, and bought them on Amazon, whatever. I got
Yeah.
shipped and whatever. And I looked at the package I got today and turned it over and said, hemp. It's paper, but it's made out of hemp.
Yep.
And I'm going, that's the first commercial product.
Huh.
When I say commercial, I mean big.
Yeah,
I could buy hemp products all over the place.
Right.
But I mean, a big thing that packaged, from a big company that makes a vacuum cleaner,
Yeah.
and their bags are made out of hemp.
I want you to send me that link, because that is insane to me, because
Sure.
hemp fiber is so expensive in America right now that anybody that makes stuff out of hemp fiber brags it up like, sustainable, and you should buy this. So it's completely shocking to me
Well, that's
that you
because
bought this thing and it didn't advertise that it was made from hemp. That was the best material that they decided to use.
right, well,
And they weren't trying to, sell it at twice the price of
No.
a regular vacuum bag
No.
because it was.
well, they
made
make
from
it
hemp.
out of some paper, and whoever sold
Yeah.
them the paper, made them the best deal,
Yeah,
for them to
that's so
use
cool.
that. And the other thing, which is really, and we mentioned this, you had mentioned this before, it's the paper, because some guy owns all the forest, it's trees,
Right,
so he fights using hemp
right,
because it cuts into his business.
right, exactly.
And so that's what you see in a lot of this stuff,
Mhm.
is they don't want to go back, okay, because it cuts into their business, and we're talking about billion dollar
Mhm.
billion-dollar companies, and it cuts into their business. So that, they call up your attorneys, they toss money into somebody's campaign, okay, to keep the safe.
Yeah.
Here, I need
the children.
this,
Yeah.
So that's what's ultimately going to happen. And I think we're at the point right now, the tipping point, and the rescheduling was the indicator. Now at the federal level, not the farm bill, not a screwed up farm bill and then rewrite it and screw it up anymore. It was at the federal level, okay, of the rescheduling. And that's the first indication that, hey, we got to do something. Okay. And what's the easiest path? Just like Illinois, we'll do medical, reschedule it down. We're not going to.
Right.
We're
No,
not
that's
gonna
nice.
unschedule it.
That's nice. That's a very optimistic view of, like, we're stepping into this thing. Like, medical is easy. Now rescheduling is easy because people are asking, and that's a way to, like, normalize it a little, and it'll just keep slipping and slipping until the plant is free. That's my hope. That's my dream. I do want, what's our time? Where are we at?
We're at an hour.
An hour.
So,
Oh yeah.
I
Geez,
can
we
give you
gotta
10
wrap this up.
minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, please, if you guys watch this after the fact, which most people do, don't catch us live, please leave comments in any of the locations that you're catching this broadcast, this recording, and let us know, where do you get your cannabis from, and what do you think about this rescheduling? Do you view that as a positive thing? Do you think it's a power grab? Do you think it's going to help research? I would love to hear from people that are in the research industry. How much do you think this is going to improve the work that you've been trying to do? I'd love to hear from some students who are in, cannabis research programs. Ian, who used to work for us, he went in a program in Michigan and was a really good program. So I'm curious how this is changing universities, and are they being freed up to do more stuff? I know that it's shutting down all the research on the hemp side with the new ban that was passed. So it's kind of like the hemp side of research, as far as cannabinoids go, is being shut down. But now with the rescheduling, the THC side, that research is going to be opened up more. So it's just, I feel like it's a big game of whack-a-mole or something.
I think it's basically that. It's like, it's an issue. And I think what it is the populace is consuming more and more and more.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to drive it, because they can't say, well, no, we can't do this. And the judge is up there, yeah, I smoke, the cops do. And it's funny. I've done like contract work for engineering and software and stuff, and for some pharmaceuticals. And back in the day, it was like drug tests and everything. Pharmaceutical companies, no, we don't do drug tests. You're pharmaceutical? No, it's like, I'm talking about big pharma.
Yeah.
Big pharma. No, we don't do drug tests. There's enough stuff floating around in this place,
Right.
And I just laughed, okay, because the financials do drug testing. Okay, everybody, a bunch of other people do drug testing and whatever. The engineering companies are doing drug tesing, but the pharmaceutical, big pharma, no, we don't do any drug testing. and it just blew my mind.
Wow.
Totally gone.
Yeah.
And you have somebody sitting with a flow and all the chemicals and everything else, and they can make anything they want. That's big pharma.
Right.
And you go, yeah, we can make it. It's over there. We can make this. Oh, you want caffeine? Oh, we got a caffeine. We can add caffeine to a drink for you. We got that. So, but I think it's going to go that way. I think the regulation that you'll see, and I don't think even the lawmakers know what to do yet. But like, it's products made from. Okay, like if you're doing gummies or if you're doing drinks or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we want to know what's going into that drink. Okay, so labeling on that drink or something or something else like that. But as far as the plant, I think deschedule it. I think we're going to end up seeing it descheduled because it's not, states are getting taxes from it.
Mhm.
Okay. And they're not seeing any,
Well, descheduling would free hemp stock farms. I mean, that would, if we descheduled, then I get the way that I think we would operate is we would still probably be under a hemp program in Illinois. We'd probably still have to register as a hemp farm under a grower's license, and we'd still have to have a processing license, but it would all be freed. And
I think those
I
fees
think
would
the
low
hemp
too.
the hemp program, I think, has been amazing. Whether people say it's a loophole, I think it was intentional. Regardless of how hemp came on the scene and all these cannabinoids,
I think it
full
was
spectrum
intentional.
of
I think it was
cannabinoids,
intentional.
however it got here. Praise the Lord, because I think all it did was prove to everybody that the big scare of marijuana being the big thing that was going to hurt everybody and be the bane of society, and children are going to be dying in the streets, and your wives are going to be leaving you and cheating on you because they're smoking marijuana. I think we've proven that that is a big fat lie. There has not been a degradation of society because of hemp being legalized and the plant basically being descheduled through hemp. And it's just a shame that we're going backwards, but maybe that's just how history works. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Well,
So please leave your comments. We'll wrap it up here because we're at our time. Thank you, Rick, for coming
Thank
in
you.
and having this conversation. These are the kinds of chats we have at the farm all the time. So if you want to stop by and grab a cup of coffee, you can definitely chat with us about this stuff. But please leave your comments. And if you have any questions, where do you get your cannabis from? And where would you like to see that come from? I would love to hear your comments. And thanks for tuning in. And Rick, thanks for coming by
You're welcome.
and
Thank you.
chatting all things cannabis with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good.
I just wanna rewind, bring me back to my prime. The Wi-Fi still felt so live, freestyling on beats outside. Whole squad with the sour spray vibes, no fake flex. Just